It's 2024. Windows is getting a bit stale. The Steam Deck is great. So what's it like gaming on Linux? My name's David, and today we'll be installing Linux to take a look at what the state of gaming is on Linux. Let's go! Alright, cheesy intros aside, here we are in Windows, and I have this SSD that I'm going to install Linux on. And I've also got a USB that I will install the live installer onto, and we'll use that to boot into Linux and run the installation. So first off, you want to go to your browser and you want to grab a copy of Linux. We're going to go with Fedora Linux. I personally like Fedora Linux because it's a very minimal distro. It doesn't really have any customizations or anything like that. It's kind of, you could consider it the equivalent of something like a vanilla Android without any customizations. By default, it comes with a GNOME desktop or GNOME desktop, and that's just a desktop experience that looks very similar to, you'd probably call it something Mac OS-like. Then there's also another desktop experience called KDE or Plasma. That's more Windows-like. The way that Linux works is you have the distribution, which is effectively just taking the Linux kernel and packaging it up, and then you add these desktop environments on top of them. And so this is like the KDE desktop environment. This is GNOME, or GNOME. And yeah, you can see it's sort of like Mac OS-like. And there are others as well, like XFCE, for example. And yeah, it's a little different, it's more lightweight. And we've got like Cinnamon, and yeah, there are a ton of other ones, Mate and whatnot. But for the most part, the two main popular ones are GNOME and KDE. And distributions like Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Pop! OS, and Fedora, Manjaro, all of these distributions, they just take these desktop environments and put them on top of the Linux kernel, and they just add a bunch of packages like, you know, the default browser or like some email clients and stuff like that, and they make it, you know, a nice user experience to work with. SteamOS as well is just a Linux desktop, like it's a Linux operating system with a desktop environment, which is KDE plastered on top, and then Steam is installed, like pre-installed on it, and it's all available out of the box. So we'll go with KDE Plasma on Fedora because, you know, it basically like replicates Windows, and that's good enough. I have an x86 CPU, so I'm just going to download the ISO for x86. Once the ISO is downloaded, we then want to find a way to put it on our USB. Some people recommend using Etcher, which is like a little software that takes an ISO and puts it on a USB. It's good. I personally prefer Rufus. Even though the website's kind of spammy, I think it's a tool I've used previously and I'm comfortable with, so that's my choice. So yeah, I just download the portable version because I don't want to install it. I'll check it on my desktop. And Bob's your uncle. There it is. So I'll open up Rufus. It's going to ask me some stuff. Then I want to take the ISO file. I'll pick my USB drive. You can see like that's the USB, and it's selected in the UI there. Then I'll pick the ISO file, which is the Fedora ISO. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and once that's completed, you'll see the USB drive is now populated with the installer files, and if we restart the computer and load the bootable USB, the Linux installer will launch. So we'll do that.
A few moments later.
And here we are. This is known as a live Linux desktop. It's not installed to my hard drive. It's basically just running Linux off of the USB, and it'll have all the like things associated with Linux, like a browser and stuff, but for the most part it's not installed to the hard drive, and it lets you kind of test out Linux. But what we need to do is install it, and so I'm going to run the installer and go through that process. I'll fast forward through here, and if you want to look for installation instructions, there are like plenty of tutorials online, so So here we are in our installed Fedora system, and the first thing we'll do is make sure that we've installed any system updates that need to be installed, and you just do that from the software center. So you just click on updates, refresh, and install whatever's there. Now there are also these things called repositories, and this is where you get updates, or where Fedora looks for updates. There are some built-in repos like this one, which is the Fedora one, but there are others as well. So if you have like an NVIDIA graphics card, you may need to enable the NVIDIA repo to download the drivers, and we want to install Steam, so we'll enable the Steam repo. This comes built in, so you just have to enable it. Once you've enabled it, make sure you refresh the list of things by clicking on like refresh in the software center, and then we'll go to the search and look up Steam. Should pop up, and then we'll click on this and click on install. Once Steam's installed, you'll want to open it. You can get it from your start menu and then log in. Cool. If you get a pop-up that asks you to participate in the survey, definitely do so, because now you're part of the Linux master race, so you gotta represent. But here we are, this is Steam, and here's my library. It's all the games that I have on Windows as normal. However, I can't play any of them just yet. To do this, I have to go into settings, and then compatibility, and then enable Proton for all games. So Valve doesn't guarantee that all games will run, but if you turn this on, it will give it a good shot. So back in my library, you can see that I can now install BattleBit, which I couldn't install before. So I'll give that a go, and I'll go ahead and queue up some of the downloads and try some games out.
Pocatello.
Now, come, friend. Let's get you inside. Man, this is great! Now that I've met a mighty Vault Hunter, I can finally join the Resistance and Sanctuary, take vengeance against Jack for killing my product line, and repair my central processor so I stop thinking out loud! I wonder what it's like to have a belly button.
I'll explain everything soon, but know this. You're alive for a reason, and I am here to help you.
Well done! Your ability to walk short distances without dying will be Handsome Jack's downfall.
For every age, there is a time of trial.
Do you remember how to jump? Please tell me you remember how to roll.
Alert. Prison escape in progress.
Ooh, that's a high ledge. Try jumping once, then jump again while in the air to reach that one. There are lots of Crimson Guard crates lying around for the taking. Break that crate.
You are in a restricted sector. This sector is on high alert.
If you duck before you jump, you'll go higher. You'll need a high jump to reach the top of this ledge, Jack.
So yeah, you can see that it's pretty easy to get started with gaming on Linux. It's important to note that the compatibility layer that Valve have put together, Proton, it's not perfect and doesn't work on all games. Mostly it'll be old anti-cheat games or like new games with anti-cheat on it that they just haven't updated it to support Linux. but most other games will work pretty well, if not the same or better than Windows, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and all the things. Leave a comment, and yeah, see you next time.